I got to admit, when this whole reverse mortgage thing came up, I was like, really? Is this exciting for anyone? Sounds kind of tax for me,
Right.
But then I actually dug into it for today's deep dive.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, totally different story than I expected. Way more interesting.
See, I knew you'd come around. What was the big aha moment?
It's how much this stuff ties into like the whole retirement picture. We're looking at this article. 10 powerful benefits of reverse mortgages.
Yeah.
Most people don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing they hit you with is this stat: between 50 and 68% of brand new retirees still have debt.
Wow.
Housing costs are a huge chunk. It's like we work to retire and then still stressed about bills.
It's so common, unfortunately. People hit retirement age still paying off that mortgage or loans, or sometimes even credit card debt. Yeah. It makes it hard to really relax and actually enjoy those years you worked so hard for.
Exactly. And that, I guess, is where this reverse mortgage thing comes in. But before we go too deep, though, for anyone listening who's like, reverse what now? Could you give us the quick rundown of what this actually is?
Absolutely. So it's a loan, but specifically for homeowners, got to be at least 62.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, it lets you take some of the value you've built up in your house, the equity, and turn it into cash. Tax-free, too.
Okay.
But here's the kicker. Unlike a regular mortgage, where you're sending in payments every month, with this, you don't. You don't pay it back until you either move out or pass away.
So instead of me paying the bank's paying me. How does that even...
Yeah, it's a little counterintuitive, hence the whole reverse part, right? Basically, the lender is saying, okay, based on how much your home's worth and your estimated lifespan, they're making a loan based on that. So the amount you borrowed plus interest that's all due when the home's not your main residence anymore.
Interesting. So not exactly free money, but it does free up how much cash you've got right now. The article actually uses this fictional couple. Bob and Lisa, they're both 65, own a house worth like $650,000. Got a $200,000 mortgage on it, though. And they've saved up about $650,000 for retirement, which, I mean...
Pretty good. Sounds like a lot of people's goals, honestly.
Right. They're doing okay. But like a lot of folks getting close to retirement, now they've got to figure out how to actually make that money last.
Big time.
And they're hoping to take out around $45,000 every year. Problem is, that's about 7% of what they've got saved. The article is saying that might be a tad high if they want that nest egg to last.
Yeah, you got to be careful. A lot of financial planners are big on what they call the 4% rule. It's more conservative for sure, but it's based on how the market's done historically, how long people are living. It's supposed to make sure your money actually lasts throughout retirement.
So is that where the reverse mortgage comes in? Like bridging that gap between the retirement they want to have and what their budget actually allows for?
It's definitely a possibility. Could be a way for them to, like, give their income a boost. But, and this is important, like any money decision, you got to weigh out the good and the bad, right?
Makes sense. Don't want to solve one problem just to create a whole new one.
Exactly.
And the article dives into a bunch of those potential benefits, which we are going to get into right after this. So, benefits. Lay it on me.
All right. So, remember how Bob and Lisa ideally wanted to be spending around 45 grand a year, but sticking to that, what was it, 4% rule?
Right. Might leave them kind of strapped.
Exactly. That's a lot of where this reverse mortgage can step in. It's that little bit of extra to bridge the gap between the lifestyle they want and what their savings can handle long term. It's not saying ignore the 4% rule, but more like finding a way to make it work for them.
So flexibility, basically, and peace of mind, I guess. Knowing they can actually enjoy retirement without obsessing over every penny.
You got it. But, and I can't stress this enough, it ISIL alone, right? So even though it gives you breathing room, got to have a solid plan for spending that money, not go crazy.
Right, don't want to create a whole other problem down the line. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so this next benefit, this is where things got kind of wild to me. Article says Bob and Lisa could actually use this thing.
Yeah.
To help their grandkids with education. Now, how in the world?
It's a wild one, right? But think of it like this. All that cash they're not sending to the mortgage company every month, it's freed up. So could be college funds, help with tuition, maybe even a low-interest loan to the grandkids. It's a way to pass on wealth, give them a head start.
Wow. That's kind of amazing. It's like this, what, ripple effect? Their finances helping out beyond just them, even after,
Yeah, and the article actually goes even further, says they could even use some of it to buy life insurance policies, cash value ones, for the grandkids.
Okay, now that's the kind of stuff I need a professional for. But point being, this isn't just about your own immediate needs, right? This is like big picture family legacy stuff
100%. And that's why exploring these options, it's all about figuring out what your values are, your goals, and tailoring the plan to that.
Totally. Now, switching gears a bit here, healthcare, the big one for retirees.
Yeah.
Everyone's worried about it. How does this play into that whole mess?
Oh, it's huge. We all know as we age, those healthcare costs, they just go up, up, up. A reverse mortgage. It's like an extra cushion. Imagine Bob and Lisa get slammed with some big medical bill, right?
Yeah.
Or need in-home care suddenly. This way, they've got more flexibility, keeps their quality of life better, and honestly, less to stress about.
It's like insurance on type of insurance almost.
Kind of. Not that it replaces health insurance or anything, obviously, but it's another resource on top of this.
Right. It's about being ready for whatever. So we all know that if you put off taking Social Security, you get bigger checks later.
Right.
But not everyone can afford to wait, right?
Yeah,
Does this play into that decision at all?
absolutely. So let's say they want to wait, get those bigger payments, but they're also worried about bills right now. Using a reverse mortgage to cover some of their expenses while they wait means they're not as squeezed and they still get those better benefits down the line.
Man, it's all about strategy, huh? It's like enjoy retirement now and set yourself up for even more later. Which, again, informed choices, right? That's the key takeaway here.
100%. Gotta know what you're working with and make it work for you, not the other way around.
It really is.
Yeah.
Like building a whole financial plan.
Yeah.
Got to have all the pieces in the right spot. Speaking of which, article also talked about this using a reverse mortgage so you don't lose your other insurance policies. That caught my attention because it's not something you think about every day.
Right, because you figure life insurance, long-term care, all that, it's important,
Right.
right? But when you're retired, on a fixed income especially, and then something unexpected happens, keeping up with those payments gets tough.
And that's where this could help.
Exactly. Since Bob and Lisa aren't shelling out for a mortgage anymore, they've got that little extra cushion. Make sure those policies stay active. It's peace of mind knowing those safety nets are actually going to be there when you need them most.
Huge weight off your shoulders, I bet.
Yeah,
And it's not even just about the money. It's that feeling of security.
absolutely.
Speaking of which, they also mentioned using it to build an emergency fund, which, .do, right? Unexpected stuff always happens.
Life doesn't care if you're retired or not. Leaky roof, car breaks down. Those bills don't discriminate. Having that cash set aside can make the difference between handling it smoothly or having to drain your savings, maybe even going into debt.
Right back where you started, basically.
Exactly. It's about staying in control, even when things get messy.
Okay, this one I actually connected with. Article talked about how once the mortgage is gone, Bob and Lisa could maybe do more charitable giving, which, again, not what I think of when I think finances, but it's a cool way to use that money.
It's kind of like your financial well-being going beyond just you. You're giving back, supporting a cause, helping your community. And hey, sometimes those donations come with tax breaks, so bonus.
There you go, making your money match your values, right?
Yeah, it's the goal.
Okay, last one, and I got to be honest, this went a little over my head. They called it using a reverse mortgage as a volatility buffer.
Wow. It's kind of wild when you break it down. So imagine the stock market crashes, right? Big time. People who need that money to live on, they might have to sell at a loss just to cover their expenses, which is
Worst case scenario.
the worst. But here, the reverse mortgage acts as a buffer. So instead of panicking and selling low, Bob and Lisa use that money for their expenses, give their investments time to recover, protects them long term.
It's like specifically designed to handle those ups and downs. Man, this whole thing has been eye-opening. We just scratched the surface, didn't we?
Barely. And that's the thing to remember. This isn't one size fits all. It's a tool, and like any tool, gotta use it right.
So for anyone listening who's thinking, maybe this is for me, what's the one thing they should do?
Talk to someone, a financial advisor, someone who actually knows this stuff. Get informed, see if it makes sense for your situation, your goals. Knowledge is power, right? And that's how you retire happy.
Absolutely. Huge thank you for diving into this with me. I feel like we both learned a lot. And to everyone listening, remember, retirement's not about slowing down, it's about new possibilities. Until next time on The Deep Dive, keep those brains engaged, always more to discover.